The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle, where you can access your full potential right now. Finally break free from destructive habits. That dream life, if you want it, you can have it. This is where you transform your health, mind, business, and relationships. Or do nothing and keep your life the way it is. But if you're ready for change, you're in the right place. This is where you're gonna learn how to live a habit-based lifestyle. You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
All right, guys, welcome to Friday. It is the Habit-Based Lifestyle and Business Show. I'm here with my trusty sidekick, Caleb. What's up, Caleb?
Yo, what's up, Jesse? Long time no smell.
Yeah, so we haven't actually been on a show lately together, and we've been busy, man. Even today, we got a little bit of a late start, but I think today is a good reminder that we don't have to be perfect. Things aren't always going to be perfect, but what we can do is when we fall off track is the number one thing we can do to get back on track is just to get back to being consistent. And I think this is something that comes up a lot for people, and a lot of the clients we work with is they get off track with something and, they kind of feel that guilt and shame around it. And instead of just saying, okay, well, what would move me forward to make me feel like I got back on track? They kind of sit there in that guilt and shame. And I think this is a big thing that comes up, whether it be, working out, whether it be with our nutrition, whether it be, in our relationships, so can you speak into that a little bit? Cause I know for you, the last few weeks, it's like, hey, are we going to do a show today? And it's like, I got to call at this time. You got to call at this time. And we just haven't been able to do it. And today I'm like, hey, we're just going to get on, man, for 15 minutes and crank this out.
Yeah, even before this, we're like, shoot, this camera's not working. This isn't working. We've been out of, doing shows together because we've been so busy in a good way. Right. And I wasn't even going to be on here because I was like, shoot, I got another call too that I got to hop on. But I'm like, how about we do it late so me and you can get back on here, talk a little bit, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that, we stopped. It matters that we just keep going, right? We keep going back to the basics, keeping consistent. And it doesn't have to even look perfect. It doesn't have to look better than the last time. It just matters that we show up. And this was actually something I was talking to my new housemate about. He works in San Onofre's in the nuclear power plants. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's right after. Yeah, it's right before Oceanside, I think, on the right-hand side, right after the kind of the surf part. So yeah,
right where the big domes are.
Yeah,
he works there. And we were talking about like exercise and working out. And he got back super late. He worked super late. And he was like, dude, I got to go to the gym, but I don't want to. And I was like, dude, you got to go. You know why? Because if you miss one day, it's so easy to miss the second day, right? You know this. And when you miss 2 days, it's really easy to miss the third day. And that snowball effect can like really keep us consistently inconsistent if we don't, keep being consistent.
Yeah, I think this kind of reminds me of one of the probably first 20 to 30 episodes I did. And it was the concept of never missing twice. And for that exact reason, like it's usually not that big of a deal if we miss once. But if we miss twice, back to back, you're really like breaking that chain. And by doing that, that completely throws off our ability to kind of get back on track. And so, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, man, kind of my golden rule is like never miss twice, whether it be a workout, whether it be a podcast. I would even say, one of the things that's got us to, over 300 shows is that mentality. Although, doing a podcast is a little bit harder than working out when it comes to, just having to jump on and do it. But I like to think of everything like a workout. Can I be consistent with this, almost like and train it like a muscle? Because, discipline, habits, all those things become almost like a muscle. We have to build it. We have to work at it to kind of build up that resilience to it. But we also can't just train it the same way all the time. Otherwise, we kind of stop seeing that growth inside of that. And I think this is a great reminder today that although we've grown and although we've been consistent, what are some things that we may need to change on a week to week or day-to-day basis so that we grow kind of to this next level, this next season, and also so that we continue to kind of, we talk about like confusing the muscle, right? So that we continue to kind of confuse the muscle in the sense of, giving us an opportunity to grow.
Yeah. Right now, if you're listening to this, drop down in the chat, or even if you're just listening to this and you don't have the chat, just think about like what area of your life, right? Whether it be in your physical health, your mental or spiritual health, right? Your relational health, or even your financial health, where you are inconsistent in some sort of way, right? Or maybe you've dropped the ball on the past week, past month, and you want to get back on it, right? Which area for you is that area, right? I know for me, it was my diet, or it has been my diet. I was really great with it, and it was the workouts I was inconsistent in. And now I'm really consistent with my workouts and getting to the gym. And now I'm inconsistent with making food for myself, cooking, and getting food in my body. Like now I've just gotten in a habit of like skipping meals and working instead. And I've really had to shift that the past 2 weeks because I was like dropping weight, and I don't like that,
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing with all of this is like, number one, what is your goal in your nutrition? So what happens a lot of times is we lose sight of the goal. Maybe someone longer term is we lose sight of the vision. And when we do that, we focus on the current circumstance. Okay. Current circumstance is I'm not eating, I'm losing weight. Right. And so we get caught up. I think this is a great opportunity to talk about this. We get caught up in our current circumstance and we lose sight on the goal. And so what I want to talk about is like, how do you keep your goal in front of you? How do you keep your goal like to where every day you're seeing what's in front of you? Like, so imagine this is if I reminded you, hey, Caleb, your goal today is, or your goal for the next 30 days is this. And every day you had that reminder in front of you, chances are you're not going to go more than a day or 2 days, without, eating the way you want to eat or fueling your body, however you want to put that. But the problem is we take our eyes off of the goal. We take our eyes off the vision, and we lose sight of where we're going, and we just focus on the current circumstance of today. And we get caught up in that. And then we begin to focus on that more than the goal. And then, 1, 2, 3 weeks goes by and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm off track. What's happening? And I really believe that we took our focus off the goal. We took our focus off the results. And that's why, you're not making the changes you want to make.
It's true. And back to your question, like here are the like 3 things that we can do that I know me and you do as well to keep us aligned with our goals consistently. Number 1, we have to look at our goals daily, right? Like me and you, we reverse engineer our big goals, right? Our quarterly goals, are all that stuff into monthly goals, into weekly goals, into daily habits, right? That's how we get our daily habits. So it's like looking at that every single day, right? And then the second thing is like telling people, right? I tell you about my goals. You tell me about your goals, right? And we hold each other accountable. I even tell my friends, I tell other people depending on what goal it is, right? And I tell other people so they can help keep me accountable. And then the third thing is to make sure that I have like checkups or check-ins with myself. Like that's how I knew I wasn't doing so well in my nutrition, because I checked in with myself. I'm like, man, I've been pushing really hard in business, but I've been skipping meals, right? So I didn't go longer than 2 weeks, like skipping meals, because I checked in with myself and I realized I have to play this game with myself. I have to consistently check in with myself because I can't expect anybody else to do it. I can ask you, I can ask other people, I can ask my mom, I can ask my dog, I can ask anybody to check in and keep me accountable, but most likely they're not going to. So I really make appointments with myself to check in on how I'm doing with my own goals, right? Every 2 weeks, every quarter on my bigger goals, right? Every half year on my 1 year goals. And I just break it down super simple, super easy, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things that can happen is we can do all the things, right? We can, have the perfect 90-day goal. We can have the perfect, here's where I got to be in 30 days, 60 days. Here's my habits that are going to support me in that. But when we take our eyes off the habits, when we take our eyes off of those things, and when we don't check in with ourselves, then we lose sight of, where we're going. It's easy, right? Because we're like, hey, I got this perfect plan, but then it takes me actually executing the plan. And so, really what I'm hearing is there's, three things that you're really going to look at. Number one, have a plan. Because if we don't
Yeah.
have the plan, ultimately we're going to fail. Number two, have an accountability partner, which, for me to be serious about something, I got to pay a certain amount of money. For others, it may just be checking in, with their friend. But that's really where I think having a coach comes into play. But also remember this, if you're watching this, I can't hold you more accountable to your diet than you do, because then um, we create like tension between us. And so when I, as your coach, try to hold you more accountable than what you're committed to, we're going to create tension, and then we're going to create a dysfunctional relationship. And this also happens in marriage. This happens in, dating, whatever. Is if one person, it really likes the other person more or is putting more effort, we start creating this natural tension in our relationship. And food, working out, all those things are no different. But us as a coach, we can only hold people accountable to the level they are. Otherwise, we're the ones kind of carrying them. And then it's almost like we're doing the work for you, which just isn't going to work when it comes to, your results long term. And then the last thing was checking in with yourself. Is there a system? Is there a process on, hey, am I checking in with myself on a week to week basis? Like, how am I showing up with my nutrition? How am I showing up, with, my goals? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how did I show up this week with my nutrition? It was a 4 or 5. Well, why was it that? And then not only that, what's one thing I can change this next week to get me maybe to a 6? Because remember this, going from a 4 to 6 maybe just takes like a little bit of an adjustment. Going from a 4 to 10 takes a huge adjustment. And that's where I think people miss out on is, it was funny because my son this morning, he's like, hey, Dad, as soon as you take me to the chiropractor tomorrow, I want to start working out 5 times a week. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because this YouTube guy said summer, or TikTok guy said summer's coming. And I was like, listen, that is the worst advice I've ever heard, that you need to go from not working out consistently or even like for the last couple of weeks to now all of a sudden you're working out 5 days a week. And he's like, but this TikTok guy whose name's Arnold Schwarzenegger or something said I should do it. And I was like, well, listen, I've been working out for 31 years and, well, I'll take your TikTok guy to the cleaners. I was joking, but I was like, work out, do something you can do consistently for 20 to 25 minutes. And then when you want to do more, then we can add that. But I think we have that mentality when we don't have our goals in sight, that it's all or nothing. And the nothing comes into play when we have way too much that we're biting off at one time.
Yeah. And then when we realize like we're behind on our goals or summer's around the corner and we haven't stepped to the gym yet, right? We're like, boom, it takes 5 days a week, every single week until summer to get that 6-pack bod, and that's a great recipe for burning out. It's exactly what I've been doing pretty much my whole life since I've been lifting weights. Is like, shoot, I'm behind. It's summer and I'm not where I want to be. So I'm going to push even harder. And I push even harder for the first week. And then the second week I crash, So the biggest key for me in my fitness has been literally the consistency and simplicity that you've definitely helped me create in my routine, not just in my fitness, but in everywhere, right? It doesn't matter how much you do. It matters about how consistent you are, right? So,
Right.
Guys, inside of your physical, right, your mental, your relational, your spiritual, and your financial health, where have you might possibly dropped the ball in these past couple of weeks, and what can you do? What small step can you take to get back on track? Right? What check-in can you have with yourself to get back on track, so you can just start taking immediate action today?
Yeah. Or better yet, to me, if you're struggling with goals, if you're struggling getting to somewhere, it's typically because you've got such a big goal that you don't know how to break it down into kind of a small, simple way of looking at it. And then number two is, you're kind of in that all or nothing mentality, which to me means that you don't really want what you say you want. It just sounds good, or and then the third part is you don't have an effective system on how to create that. And maybe you need to hire a coach, or maybe you need to hire someone to help hold you accountable to what you said you're going to do. And that's really what comes into play when we talk to a lot of the business owners we have, is like, hey, why aren't you where you want to be? Usually because they've overcomplicated it. Number two, they don't have a system on how to do it. And then number three, they want someone to hold them accountable. But, with that is you can't just pay money to be accountable. You actually have to do the work.
Yeah. So Jesse, anything else before we go?
Man, I think this is it. Like, let's just take away one rule is like, hey, never miss twice. And if you find yourself consistently missing, your workouts, missing, things that you're working towards, like, what is your process to keep your goals in front of you on a day-to-day basis so that you can remind yourself, like, hey, here's where I'm going. Here's the things that I need to do on a day-to-day basis to get there. And what's the one small step I can take today to ensure that I took that step forward?
All right, you guys heard it here first. Drop in the comments. We'd love to hear what you guys are working on in your life and in your business. All right, and if you need any business support, drop down Habit Life in the inside of the chat, and we'll just reach out to you. We'll talk to you about your goals, see where you're at right now, where you want to go, and see if we can do anything to help. All right. Until then, we'll see you guys next week.
The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse.